So, WWE had a pay per view over the weekend, one of the big five pay per views, WWE Money in the Bank, and I'm here to review it. My name is Justin Rich, and welcome to Justin Rich Talks WWE Money in the Bank. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a minute, it's been a month, it's been a while since we did our last review on Justin Rich Talks. And to be quite honest, there's a lot of things going on this past month of June, where some things professionally, some things personally. I wasn't able to get to AEW and New Japan's Forbidden Door. And quite honestly, I haven't even watched New Japan's Dominion show, which is a rarity for me because for New Japan, that's one of their like major shows. That's like the equivalent of like missing SummerSlam for WWE. But we just haven't had the time to really get around to it. So that's why there was no review for Dominion, and there was really no review for Forbidden Door. Even though I did watch Forbidden Door, it was a fantastic show, a lot of good. Some things that were like, but maybe one day down the line we'll do like a short and just review that real quick. But we're not here to talk about Forbidden Door. We're here to talk about Money in the Bank that went down in London, England over the weekend. Yes, WWE is continuing their trend of 2023 where they are traveling all over the world for these premium live events. We have Backlash in Puerto Rico, Elimination Chamber in Canada, and now we have Money in the Bank in London, which is a big step forward because, again, Money in the Bank is one of their big five pay-per-views. Even some may say, including myself, that Money in the Bank has kind of supplanted Survivor Series as the big four pay-per-view in WWE, only because Survivor Series really doesn't have anything of consequence and merit other than it's a big four pay-per-view, whereas Money in the Bank introduces the Money in the Bank briefcase. You have the Money in the Bank ladder match gimmick to where all of a sudden you win that briefcase, you have the entire calendar year until the next Money in the Bank to cash that sucker in on your champions and whatnot. And for the most part, for the women's division, your Money in the Bank winners have predominantly cashed in either on the same night or within the next night on Raw. So that briefcase does not last longer than 24 hours unless your name is Carmella. Shout out to you, Carmella. You also got to look at it from this perspective to where with these premium live events going out, going to other countries, going to other nations, expanding the horizons of WWE and going globally. But now you actually have a big five pay-per-view. Money in the Bank is a very significant pay-per-view, and to have that in London, A, shows faith in the London crowd that they can hold it down, and B, it shows where the trajectory of WWE is going as far as these premium live events, because we did have a teaser on this show via a surprise appearance actually from John Cena, and he came out and was talking about everything London, getting the crowd hype and whatnot. But he also dropped a little teaser. You sneaky little devil, you. He dropped a little teaser, and that teaser was maybe there is a potential that London gets WrestleMania one day. That's actually not a bad thought, as remember, England's gotten to SummerSlam before. Go back to SummerSlam 92. You know, Bret Hart, British Bulldog, main event that for the IC title. And that was a fantastic crowd from start to end for the most part. So London has shown that they can hold down like a big four pay-per-view. A WrestleMania, that's a cool thought, especially for the fact that, honestly, since we're Americans, we get spoiled a lot because 95% of the time WrestleMania is here in the United States, whereas everyone else is forced to travel here to the US to go to WrestleMania. So having WrestleManias abroad, especially like in London or other countries, is a really rather brilliant idea, especially given that the majority of the fan base end up traveling regardless. And it'll be cool to be like, you know what? We do gotta travel over to London, or we do gotta travel over to France, or we do gotta travel over to Puerto Rico, maybe Mexico, maybe Canada. Who knows? The future is bright. But that was one of the main things that got teased on this show for Money in the Bank. So this is how we do things on this show. We call it the 4-point play, and it goes as follows. There are three things on this show that I take a look at and give my thoughts on that I like from the pay-per-view. There's one thing on the show that I didn't like that I will discuss. I give my overall match recommendation and my overall pay-per-view rating on a scale of 1 to 5 mics. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. Let's get to it. The first thing that I liked on this Money in the Bank pay-per-view was Damian Priest becoming Papi in the Bank. That's right. Our one and only Damian Priest, our beloved Puerto Rican, our boy, ya tu sabe. Our guy came through in a hellacious battle for the Money in the Bank briefcase. It was him. It was Butch. It was LA Knight. It was Shinsuke Nakamura. It was Santos Escobar. It was Ricochet. And it was the one and only, the dastardly Logan Paul, who came out of nowhere in the 11th hour to insert himself into this Money in the Bank match. You had 7 guys going for this briefcase. LA Knight going in as a heavy favorite. Logan Paul going in as spoiler. And Damian Priest has had hella momentum. If you really go back to 2 years ago, let's go back to WrestleMania 37, rewind there, where he goes into that match with Bad Bunny against The Miz and John Morrison. They have momentum. Bad Bunny and Priest, and again the victory. Bad Bunny goes on to do his music thing, and Priest starts to really gain momentum out of that and bubble as a result of that. And then you look at WrestleMania 38, where he ends up costing AJ Styles the match against Edge because he ends up joining the Judgment Day. One of many to end up joining the Judgment Day, as Rhea will soon follow suit, as Finn Balor will end up kicking out Edge and becoming the de facto leader of the Judgment Day, and as Dominic Mysterio will end up turning heel on his own papi, Rey Mysterio. That's questionable. Dominic Mysterio will turn heel on Rey Mysterio and join Judgment Day himself to get this current faction that we have with this Fable 4. And Priest has been looking very good as of late, especially when you go back to Backlash, where him and Bad Bunny just put on a banger of a match in Puerto Rico, a match that we reviewed on this show and said that should have closed the show because that was fucking phenomenal. And Damian Priest did a lot of that heavy lifting because obviously we love Benito. We love us some Bad Bunny, but Bad Bunny's not a full-time wrestler. Damian Priest is. And Damian Priest helped carry that match, especially given all the outside interference and whatnot. So Damian Priest came into this with a lot of momentum, but he wasn't the overwhelming favorite. LA Knight was. Everyone loves the yeah. But at the same time, I was a little lukewarm on LA Knight only because of this. Like, yes, the catchphrase is dope. And we've seen it before from other wrestlers, whether it was Rusev Day, it was Fickle from Daniel Bryan. It's like catchphrases always get over, you know, even the what chants from Stone Cold Steve Austin that we still get today ad nauseum. We've seen catchphrases get over. What else does LA Knight offer other than a catchphrase? Because the in-ring is solid, but hasn't really stood out, even though LA Knight has been gaining momentum going into this year's WrestleMania and coming out of this year's WrestleMania. He's had a lot of momentum. So I see where people really fuck with him in a way that I'm still questioning it. And especially going into this match, I was like, I'm not 100% sure LA Knight wins this, but I kind of picked Logan Paul. I ain't gonna lie. I was thinking big picture. I was thinking Logan Paul, you put him in the 11th hour, is usually for a reason. They're in London. That's KSI's backyard. If you don't know, KSI is Logan Paul's partner in this endeavors with Prime. Right now, they're doing Prime promo tours all around the globe, introducing Prime and whatnot. They just did a sponsorship with FC Barcelona. Salute to the home team, where they partnered up with FC Barcelona that they'll be exclusive with Prime. So Logan Paul's been doing a lot of traveling, doing a lot of publicity and whatnot. And you could easily see a Prime in one hand and a Money in the Bank briefcase in the other, especially where sometimes, again, we talked about it on the show, WWE likes to throw curveballs here and there. And if Logan Paul's getting added out of nowhere, maybe that's a curveball we don't see coming, especially given how maybe depending on how the women's Money in the Bank match would have fall out. That's why I was kind of like skeptical, but I was also like, you know what? There's something here with this Logan Paul thing. Because Santos Escobar, I love him. Shout out to LWO. They're doing great work right now. But Santos really doesn't feel like someone that's going to win that briefcase right now. Ricochet always feels like someone that's in there for spots, that's going to give you great moments, great giftable videos and stuff like that. But you don't really take him seriously as like he's really getting that briefcase. And Shinsuke, as much as I love Shinsuke, we love Shinsuke in this household. We love the swagger and everything that Shinsuke provides. But he hasn't really been that credible threat of a champion. You gotta go all the way back to like his first year where he had hella momentum coming out of NXT, winning WrestleMania, going on to WrestleMania in a high-profile match with AJ Styles. Like that was the last time Shinsuke really had momentum like that as a top champion. So it was hard to really take him seriously going into this, which really left Logan Paul, LA Knight, and Damian Priest when you really think about it. So the match unfolds, and obviously it's your typical Money in the Bank match. It's basically a glorified car crash with 7 people. They took some bumps that were just like, why would you do that? For example, Logan Paul doing a frog splash, I believe it was on Damian Priest on a ladder to the outside that I know had to hurt. And then there's another spot in there where LA Knight pushes Ricochet and Logan Paul off the ladder into the ropes. The boys get tangled in the ropes, and then Ricochet is able to get Logan Paul enough to where they do a Spanish fly off the ropes to the outside through tables. Unfortunately, Logan didn't have his feet completely set, so it looked like Logan went head first into the tables. Ow. May I add, why the fuck would you do that spot? In theory, Logan Paul has the athleticism to pull off a Spanish fly. We know for a fact Ricochet has the athleticism to pull off a Spanish fly. But that was one where you could tell that that spot was going bad off the jump, and then they still went through with it. Ricochet was able to get full rotation. Logan Paul didn't, to where he crashed his head first into this. And damn, we're talking about this match. I forgot to talk about the one person from England who was in this match who was a part of this. I don't know why I overlooked Butch in this, because seeing that Butch is back home in front of his countrymen, came out in the Brawling Brutes kit and whatnot, looking fantastic, got some fantastic spots in. Shout out to you, Butch. But also, Butch kind of falls into the same category as Santos, Escobar, and Ricochet, where we don't really take him seriously as far as a top champion, even though this was a guy that was a UK champion for a very long time before he lost that title to Gunther at TakeOver New York, and was someone that was treated very seriously in NXT. But for some reason, we don't look at him that same vein on the main roster. So it looked like LA Knight was going to win this. If we go back to the graphics, there's one of the pictures where LA Knight was just about to get this briefcase, and then Damian Priest out of nowhere grabs him, yokes him up, throws him off the ladder, completes the climb, gets that briefcase off of whatever the hell that thing is hanging on, and Damian Priest is your new Money in the Bank holder. And I love this decision because of the fact that not only is it because he's Puerto Rican, ya tú sabes, but mostly because they've been teasing dissension in the ranks of Judgment Day for the last 2 or so weeks heading into this premium live event, especially between Damian Priest and Finn Balor, where Finn Balor's been going after Seth Rollins and that brand new, beautiful World Heavyweight Championship. And Priest has kind of been like, yo, I see Finn's going after it, but you've been taking some L's as of late, versus I've been winning my matches. I've been looking good. You sure you the right person to be challenging for this title and whatnot? So they've been teasing at this, and with Damian Priest now being Mr. Money in the Bank, not only can that further that story, which it ends up doing later that night in the match with Seth Rollins and Finn Balor, where Priest comes out to ringside, basically pulls up a chair and is like, yo, let me take a look at who's going to end up winning this, because if Seth wins, I can always cash in on Seth. If Finn wins, I have a decision to make. Finn's supposed to be my boy, but at the same time, I kind of want to be champion too. I could see myself with that title belt around my waist. I could see myself as a world heavyweight champion, and if I gotta go through Finn to do it, but see, yo, Finn, you my guy. You may get these hands. That's the cool thing about that Seth Rollins and Finn Balor match, was Priest came out there, made his presence known, but actually didn't get involved with the match, even though he's been teasing that briefcase. To where, unfortunately, Finn took a L against Rollins, 1, 2, 3, and still your World Heavyweight Champion, Seth freaking Rollins. Let's go back to Priest, because again, we talked up about Priest's momentum going into this match. Priest had his spots during the match. Priest looks like someone that can cash in on Seth Rollins. He even looks believable across the Tribal Chief. Now, we love our one and only beloved Tribal Chief, but at some point, Roman's gonna lose someday. And Priest looks very believable across Roman compared to some of those other guys in this Money in the Bank match. And that's the thing, is when someone's holding that briefcase, you gotta look at them as a potential top champion. Because with the exception of Austin Theory, whoever's won that briefcase has cashed in on one of the 2 top titles that the guys are holding. And there's a much more success rate than unsuccessful rate. Whoever sold that Money in the Bank briefcase has a very high probability. It's not guaranteed. We've seen it with the men. It's not guaranteed, but a very high probability of becoming WWE champion. And Priest looks like someone that can really be a believable champion. So that was the first thing that I liked on the show, was Damian Priest becoming Mr. Money in the Bank. The second thing that I liked on this show was Io Sky becomes the genius in the bank. Yes, they have been teasing dissension between Damage Control for a minute, especially between Io Sky and Bayley. Get well soon, Dakota Kai. This was a match that Io went in as a heavy favorite. I mean, everyone and their mother was betting that Io Sky was going to win this briefcase. And rightfully so, because if you look at everyone else in this match, Bayley has already won the Money in the Bank briefcase. So until we have a 2-time Money in the Bank winner, you might as well automatically disqualify Bayley. Becky is someone that has never won Money in the Bank, can easily be believable as a Money in the Bank winner. However, she's someone that does not need that briefcase. Not to mention, she had 2 people in this match, in Trish Stratus and Zoey Stark, that she's already intertwined with at the moment. You also got to go back to not that long ago, she was getting into it with Bayley and Io Sky. So outside of Zelina Vega, everyone was against Becky Lynch in this match. Trish Stratus has never won it, but at the same time, Trish Stratus hadn't wrestled in a while. This is her first Money in the Bank match, and it was like, you could see an outcome where Trish Stratus gets this briefcase, but do you really believe it, or do we need more people? And the same goes for Zoey Stark, who just got that call up not that long ago. This is her first high-profile feud, her first high-profile story on the main roster, where she's intertwined with Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, 2 of the greatest to ever do it. But I don't really see her becoming Miss Money in the Bank. My personal favorite in this one was actually Zelina Vega. And again, not because she's Puerto Rican, got tu sabe, but it had to do with just logic for me. And like, Bayley and Io have been hinting at they're about to throw hands at each other, but they're still cool with each other. Bayley, Trish, and Zoey have a storyline where they keep fighting each other, which basically leaves Zelina, who's the only person who didn't have any beef with anyone in this match, to where her own focus could be on the briefcase. Not to mention, going into Backlash, and even the fallout from Backlash, that's really the only time she's taken an L in this last couple of like weeks and months going into it, where she's been heavily protected, and they've been building her to where she gets victories, to where is believable. And especially in a gimmick match like this, where you have so many people that can take each other out and whatnot, I could have easily seen a roadmap where Zelina gets that briefcase and could do something with that. So that's why she was my pick going into this. But it was one of those that I could see an outcome outside of Bayley and Zoey. I could see it where Zelina won the briefcase, Io won the briefcase, Becky wins the briefcase, or Trish wins the briefcase. So going into this match, this was just a fantastic physical bout where the women took some brutal spots. Zelina gave Zoey Stark a cold red off the ladder, basically a callback to years ago when Andrade did that to Finn Balor at Money in the Bank, which I applauded because that looked very crisp and very snug from Zelina, and also that looked like that hurt. Like I felt for Zoey. I was like, God damn. Get her some Robitussin. And then Trish got hella physical to where like Trish messed up her nose again. Maybe she broke it, maybe she fractured it, maybe she just busted it, but Becky got her good to where you could see like right up here in the bridge where like Trish was messed up and Zoey got her spots and like everyone got their spots in and whatnot. But we gotta talk about this ending because the ending of the match was fucking phenomenal. Becky looks like she's about to get it and then is dragged down the ladder. Io looks like she's finally about to grab that briefcase. Bayley, out of nowhere, Bayley pushes over the ladder, costing her friend the Money in the Bank. I'd be your first two-time Money in the Bank winner. Unfortunately for Bayley, Becky Lynch had other plans and was like over her dead body to where they end up brawling and getting entangled with each other. Becky had her wrist handcuffed earlier from Zoey Stark, so she still had an extra set of handcuffs to where it's like, I could just lock you in here if I want to. But while Becky and Bayley were going at it, Io came out of nowhere, puts the handcuff on Bayley and put it to where Becky and Bayley's arms were in between the ladders like that, but they were handcuffed to each other to where neither could climb up, neither could really get out of their predicament, and they were just stuck. And then Io Sky takes stock because now not only are they handcuffed, but they're anchoring the ladder for you, making this an easier climb. Io climbs over Bayley to then climb up the ladder and get the Money in the Bank briefcase. And I love this because Io's been someone that like a lot of fans have been rocking with since she came back to WWE at SummerSlam, since she helped form Damage Control with Bayley. And she's a big fan favorite that like a lot of people love and respect, and they want to see her with Asuka as far as like a feud. People want to see Asuka and Io Sky go at it, especially when they're arguing with each other in their native language. It is a beauty to behold, especially when you put subtitles on it, so where you really see them hook off on each other, and you're like, oh shit, they said that to each other? Damn, I don't know how they got away with that on WWE television, but salute to y'all. But there's so many avenues, and then there's also Rhea Ripley on Raw, where Io can easily cash in on her. And here's the thing, folks, keep this in mind. The women have yet to have an unsuccessful cash-in with the Money in the Bank briefcase. So it's basically they're batting 1,000 until someone has a failed cash-in. So at some point we're gonna have a failed cash-in, but I don't know if I see that with Io Sky, especially where it could help further her own story as far as like a babyface turn, and also where Damage Control is going, because going into WrestleMania, I said that they need to do something with Damage Control because it felt like that faction was done. Bayley took L after L after L to Bianca Belair. Io Sky took L after L after L to Bianca and Becky. And the same goes for Dakota Kai, to where they really didn't get a lot of momentum. They became tag champs and then they lost it to Becky Lynch and Lita. And Lita hadn't wrestled in forever. So basically it was like Becky Lynch almost going 2-on-1 to get that. What? At WrestleMania, where Becky, Lita, and a returning Trish Stratus against a full Damage Control. And then Damage Control takes an L to two part-timers? What? So it was one of those that they needed something to do with Damage Control, and I feel like this was a good vehicle to help further Damage Control stuff moving forward, especially with Io and Bayley. Because Bayley's been playing it good. It's like, yo, that's my friend will Money in the Bank. You know, I know we tussled in there. I know I may have knocked you off a ladder. I know you may have handcuffed me to a ladder. But we did what we needed to do in order to get the briefcase. So is Bayley going to play it like how Christian's playing it on AEW, where Luchasaurus won the title, but Christian's holding it, and it's like, this is our title? Or is Bayley going to try to weasel that briefcase off of Io Sky and get it for herself? Maybe setting up a Bayley versus Io with the briefcase on the line? Who knows? I have been someone that has said on multiple platforms that whoever holds the briefcase should defend that from time to time. Even though you won the briefcase, cool, congrats to you. Defend your spot. Prove that you should still be the Money in the Bank holder and not me, a la what Miz did to Otis back in the Thunderdome. And it's also something that New Japan does all the time with the G1 winner, because whoever wins G1 Climax gets the briefcase to main event Wrestle Kingdom. But on the path to Wrestle Kingdom, that G1 Climax winner does have to defend that briefcase against people that he lost to in the G1 Climax. So it's basically defend your spot. So that's gonna be something that's gonna be interesting moving forward. Is do they force Io Sky to defend her spot? And if so, does that mean we're gonna get Bayley and Io at some point with the briefcase on the line? But that was the second thing that I liked on this show. The third thing that I liked on this show was Roman Reigns finally takes defeat our beloved tribal chief, the one that we acknowledge on a daily basis, the head of our table, the one and only, working on our undisputed universal champion, arguably one of the greatest to do it, and someone that is carving a path to where he may retire. Number one, our guy took the L, got his shoulders pinned. 1, 2, 3. For the first time in over 3.5 years. Think about this. The last time Roman Reigns suffered a pinfall defeat involved Baron Corbin, when Baron Corbin was throwing dog food on Roman Reigns in that feud, and it ends up to where Roman goes over in the feud and ends up putting dog food on Baron Corbin. Like, that was the feud they were entangled in, and that was the last time Roman Reigns really took a pinfall L. So you're going the entire, well, you can't say the PC time because the PC era, Roman wasn't there. The entire Thunderdome era, Roman didn't take an L. Hell, even when he came back from leukemia, he rarely took L's. But on this entire run as our beloved, undisputed tribal chief, Roman hadn't taken an L. Any losses that Roman got involved tag team matches where the other person took the loss. Going into this, it was like the Usos have hella momentum. They finally broke away from the tribal chief. They finally got away from Solo's thumb and broke away from him too. And they were standing on their own. And good for them, because let's rewind here. This goes all the way back to the Thunderdome, when Roman first got that Universal title and was beating the absolute dog shit out of Jey Uso. That was the whole fall in line or else, where he helped Jey Uso become main event Jey Uso, but it came at a cost to where he was getting his ass whooped left and right. If it wasn't Roman beating his ass, then it was Cesaro beating his ass, or Daniel Bryan beating his ass, or Edge beating his ass, or everyone else was just beating the hell out of Jey Uso. So Roman's had a receipt longer than the CVS receipt. That shit was like this long of receipt that was due. And then you throw in the Jimmy factor, where same shit with Jimmy. Go back to Hell in a Cell, Roman versus Jey. He manipulates Jimmy. He puts Jimmy in the guillotine while Jimmy's recovering from a torn ACL. And when Jimmy is finally fully healthy and comes back into the fold, Jimmy was doing the I ain't no one's bitch. I ain't no one's bitch. And then again, Roman, fall in line or else I beat your brother's ass. And Roman's been doing this manipulating shit for like 3 years. Even though, again, we love him, we respect him. But he's had it coming. And then with Solo being in Roman's corner, it's like, fuck, I gotta go against my own brother. But at the same time, like, we gotta do what we gotta do, fam. So going into this match, this was one where obviously this was highly anticipated, because you going back a couple of weeks, the ratings, the numbers, the engagements on social media, the trends. This is arguably the best storyline in wrestling, period. This whole bloodline as a unit, and now as a civil war. So the tagline going into this was the Bloodline Civil War. Roman and Solo with Paul Heyman in their corner versus the Usos. And man, this was a very methodical match from start to end. They took their time. They let it soak in. And that London crowd was hot for Roman. Sidebar, London. Could y'all explain to me wanker? because y'all love getting wanker off during this entire premium live event to where it's almost like I had to start Googling, like, what the hell is that? Is this their way of saying fuck you? Where we're just gonna fuck with you, but we're not gonna like curse, we're just gonna call you a wanker? They did that a couple times during this premium live event, which I found funny, but at the same time, it's like, yo, they're calling Roman a wanker. Stand up. If you hate Roman, take your shoes off. If you hate Roman, to where you can see Roman getting frustrated, where he's like, bro, why the fuck are we pulling up to London? Why are we coming to England? Like, this is how y'all treat your tribal chief? Is this what we be doing over here? Like, seriously, London? Y'all ain't got no home training? Ugh. But Roman had to keep his eye on the ball because you couldn't let the crowd fuck around and get in your head and stuff like that. But then Heyman got into Roman's ear. When the Usos started gaining some momentum and started putting hands on Roman, Roman's like, you know what, I'm gonna take a timeout outside. Me and Solo gonna regroup or whatnot. And Heyman had to get in his ear and be like, yo, do you want Jay at the head of your table? Do you want your children eating off of his table? And as soon as Paul said that line, Roman was just, it's go time. It's almost like fucking Popeye eating a spinach, but the spinach was just tainted with just like angry thoughts. Basically, it's like, yo, because Roman came in there in savage mode, like, ain't no one eating off of fucking Jey Uso's table or Jimmy Uso's table. I am the tribal chief. I am the head of the table. Everyone eats off of my shit. So Roman, of course, had to establish dominance. But then we get to the second half of this match where Roman's just beating ass, but the Usos keep kicking out, putting Jimmy in the guillotine. Jimmy ain't going to sleep. Hits Jey Uso with the spear. Solo gets involved. Solo thumbs Jimmy Uso. Solo and Roman thumb spear. I like that. But they gotta trademark that thumb spear. They thumb spear Jey Uso. And Roman, this motherfucker, this asshole, has the audacity, the unmitigated gall to stack his own fucking cousins like he did Edge and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 37, thinking that's gonna be some cute shit. Not only am I gonna beat you, I'm gonna stack you. I'm gonna establish dominance and mount you. Pause. Like, this is personal. So he stacks them. 1, 2, kick out at 2.999999999. And then Roman's just like dumbfounded, like, they fucking kicked out of a double stack. And then Roman started getting emotional to where Solo had to look over like, hey, yo, the fuck you getting emotional for? What kind of tribal chief starting to like cry? Is that tears? Is that tears? And then Solo had to look like, do I need to thumb you? Do you need to catch this thumb? Like, what the fuck are we doing here, Roman? So eventually we get to the ending where Solo gets wiped out on the outside trying to put Jimmy Uso through a table. The Usos double team on Roman. Roman hits Jey Uso with a spear. And then when Jey Uso kicks out this time, he uses his arm and just like, Pyah! Right on Roman's nutsack. Yes, the tribal nuts took a blow, took a massive blow. You got to protect the tribal McNuggets, Roman. You had to protect the tribal McNuggets. And Roman, obviously, anyone gets hit in the balls, that shit hurts. So that allowed the Usos to gain the upper hand, double team Roman. Jey Uso goes up for the splash. 1, 2, 3. Holy fuck. Jey Uso pinned Roman Reigns. Oh my God. That O2 crowd in London went nuclear. I was on a live stream. Shout out to True Hill Heat. I was on a live stream with them. We were just like, oh fuck, he got pinned. Roman got pinned. It was like, yeah, our tribal chief took a tribal loss to Jey Uso, bringing the story almost full circle to where it began with Roman and Jey, and now you look here, Jey finally is the one after over 1,000 days as champion, over 1,200 days since Roman Reigns has been pinned or submitted. Jey Uso is the one that gets the pin on the tribal chief. Shout out to the Usos. Moving forward, because now it's like, what do we do for SummerSlam? And I had laid this out on Turnbuckle Talk and other platforms before coming out of WrestleMania. When people were like, what the hell do we do if Cody Rhodes is not your champion? Simple. You have the Bloodline Civil War. I always looked at SummerSlam as the perfect time to pull the trigger on Roman and Jay, because they were teasing that Bloodline dissension coming out of WrestleMania. So this was always headed in this direction. And if you're building Jey Uso as main event Jey Uso, then you got to pull that trigger at some point for a reason. And especially in this story where it makes 1,000% sense for Roman and Jey to go after the title, but now Jey Uso is in a much better place than he was back in the Thunderdome at Hell in a Cell, where we were just starting to build him as a main eventer. And you have this nuclear story where now Jimmy's in his corner, Solo's in Roman's corner. Jay's now the one that pinned Roman. So now, WWE logic, Jay should get a title shot at Roman. Doesn't mean that Jey should win the title. I honestly see Roman Reigns walking into Philadelphia as your undisputed Universal Champion for WrestleMania 40. It just makes too much sense. But at the same time, Jay can take an L at SummerSlam and be perfectly fine. Like, bro, you got to main event WrestleMania Night 1 with your brother against Sami and KO in one of the greatest tag team matches of all time. And then for Jay to now get an opportunity to main event against his cousin at SummerSlam, bringing the story full circle with his brother in his corner and his other brother in Roman's corner, that's a win right there. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just stay in this moment and the fact that the Usos got the win over Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, but they pinned the Tribal Chief. So that was the third thing I loved on this show. Now, let's get to the one thing I didn't like on the show. Instability in the women's tag team division. We have new tag team champions. Again. So heading into this premium live event, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler were your current WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. They have been mollywopping everyone to get those titles. I know Ronda had the arm injury going into WrestleMania. Shayna suffered, I think, an ankle injury coming out of WrestleMania and whatnot. But since they got back together, healthy, rested, healed up, and just going badass on everyone on their warpath to the Women's Tag Team Championships, they've looked very dominant, but sometimes they haven't shown like there's been any dissension between Ronda and Shayna. Now, Liv coming back earlier than expected is a blessed surprise. Welcome back, Liv Morgan. Glad you're healthy. And Raquel is someone that they've been protecting for a while. So going into this match, it makes sense logically, where it's like Liv and Raquel are going after the tag team titles they've never lost. You know, they relinquished due to Liv Morgan's injury. So they're going back at those titles, and Liv and Ronda have history. Liv is someone that has pinned Ronda, or has beaten Ronda twice. And Liv also beat Shayna before too, when Liv was SmackDown Women's Champion. So there is added history there, but this was a solid match. It had great spots. Ronda and Shayna were beating the hell out of Liv Morgan, who was taking a lot of ass whoopings for someone that just came off the injured reserve. But at the same time, Liv is a great baby face. People love Liv Morgan. People get behind Liv Morgan. People rally around Liv Morgan. And Raquel, you know, she's got that wide back. So you know she's going to come in hot with the hot tag and put that to use and whatnot. But we get towards the end of this match, and out of nowhere, Shayna Baszler turns on her partner, Ronda Rousey, puts her in the guillotine, puts her in a chokehold, goes to like put her to sleep. All the while, like, Liv Morgan is behind her while Shayna is just pummeling Ronda Rousey and choking Ronda Rousey. And Liv's just like, what the fuck is going on here? We love you, Shayna. Shayna was doing the Lord's work, because this second Ronda Rousey run has not been hitting. Let's be honest. The first time when she came in, it was fresh. She was trying her ass off. She was putting on some great matches. She was working with some fantastic people. This second time around, it ain't been hitting. And she's been in there with some great workers with some great talent to where it can't be the people that she's wrestling against. So now it's like, we kind of got to put this on Ronda, be like, yo, what the? It's like, you had the babies, obviously you cannot blame having a child on it. But it's like, her head and her heart's not kind of there the same way that it was the first time. Where it's like, something was off with Ronda. To where this run just wasn't hitting. When she was SmackDown Women's Champion, it was just like, ill. Get this title off of her. But at the same time, that was at a time where Charlotte was on hiatus. Sasha and Naomi had left the company. So you didn't really have much options in the SmackDown Women's division outside of Ronda, Liv Morgan, who they eventually built up. And then you had a bunch of unknowns. You had like Shotzi, you had like Xylee, you had a couple other call-ups. Natty is always like a solid hand, but someone that people don't take serious as a champion anymore. He's basically like in a Dolph Ziggler role. As much as I love these tag team titles changing hands because these are finally off of Ronda, this kind of didn't make any sense because, like, again, Ronda and Shayna weren't teasing any dissension. This is not like Damage Control, where Damage Control was teasing at possible Bayley and Io getting into it, or even with Judgment Day with like Finn and Priest getting into it. This kind of comes out of left field. And then this speaks to an overarching problem in the women's tag team division where those belts always change hands within 90 days. They might as well change 90-day fiance to 90-day champion, because that's basically what the women's tag team division is whoever gets those tag team titles holds it up to a period of 90 days, and then they end up losing it to someone else. And the way that they put together and break apart tag teams haphazardly with the women is kind of like, why don't we have stability? Why don't we have like what happened with the Usos when they became our undisputed when they were tag team champions, then they became undisputed tag team champions and held those belts for a while. And you see that right now too with KO and Sami Zayn, where they're holding those tag team titles for a while. Gunther has been your IC champion for a while. He is gunning on Honky Tonk Man's all-time IC title reign. Roman Reigns has been champion for over 1,000 days. And then the women's tag teams, they can't even get like 6 months. Hell, some of them can't even get 3 months. So it's like, can we get stability to where not only do your champions hold the titles for a little bit, but you have teams that stay together and actually build meaningful feuds to go after said champion versus I understand Liv and Raquel. Liv Morgan is someone that WWE has invested highly in for the last year, because this time last year, she had some momentum, but not a lot, but she became your Money in the Bank winner. She ends up cashing in that same night on Ronda Rousey. She becomes your SmackDown Women's Champion coming out of Money in the Bank. She successfully defeats Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam. She successfully defeats Shayna Baszler at Clash of the Castle. She loses to Ronda Rousey in a high-profile match at Extreme Rules. She becomes tag team champion with Raquel. And now she becomes tag team champion again with Raquel Rodriguez. To where I believe Liv Morgan is now a 3-time tag team champion on top of the SmackDown Women's Champion. Raquel Rodriguez, they've been protecting her for a while. They're hinting at big things for Raquel. And as champions, they make a lot of sense, but it's one of those like on your first shot back, even though Liv just came off a pretty significant injury ahead of time, but like all of a sudden now they're your champions and we're hot-potatoing the titles once again, which was the problem before, which is why Sasha and Naomi ended up walking out of WWE, because Mercedes and Trinity had enough of like the hot-potatoing and like, what the hell are we doing in this division? And it goes back to way before they even got those titles, even when Sasha Banks and Bayley were your champions. The same thing with the hot-potatoing, and it's something that WWE's had this problem for years, where it's like, figure this shit out. You have talent in the women's division, both for your top titles and for your mid-card title, which basically the women's tag team title is. You just unified these fucking tag team titles with the NXT ones not that long ago. So why are we having so much instability? Come on, WWE, figure this out. So that was the one thing I didn't like on the show. Now, let's get to my match recommendation, which is I actually have two on this show. I have the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and I have the Bloodline Civil War. Now, we just discussed in detail the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and we also discussed in detail the Bloodline Civil War. The reason why I'm saying these are my match recommendations is because both of them were fantastic. I think this Women's Money in the Bank ladder match might be the best one the women have ever done at Money in the Bank, period. Like, they've had some that were solid and some that were like clusters. Like, last year was a one big clusterfuck. This year's was a lot better. Everyone got their shit in. The spots were precise. They looked like they hurt a lot, but at the same time, no one seriously got injured. They made some sense. I didn't really see any botches in this one. Like, this was a very fantastic Women's Money in the Bank match, one of the best that they've done. So I had to put that in my match recommendation. And then, again, the Bloodline Civil War. We have been building for the story for going on 3 years now. The story was coming to this point. This is at its culmination to where you want to see the Usos beat the shit out of their cousin. And unfortunately, Solo made his choice to stick with Roman. So, yo, we don't care about the thumb. You getting his ass whooping too. And it was such a fantastic, methodical match to where it's two different matches, but even like if a casual person picks up this premium live event and watches those two, they're gonna be highly entertained. There's a lot of spots that's gonna like pop them. There's a lot of crowd reaction, so they're not gonna get bored. And I think they're gonna like the outcome and the story that was told in both those matches. So those are my match recommendations. The Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Salute to all the women involved. Y'all did a fantastic job. And the Bloodline Civil War. Again, this is the best story going in wrestling. And another chapter in this fantastic story that we still got to see how this is going to end, because I still don't see this ending anytime soon. So that's my match recommendations. Let's get to the mic scale and what we rate this bad boy. So a fresh reminder of how we rate pay-per-views on this channel. We have the mic scale, where we go on a scale of 1 to 5 mics, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. If I give a show 5 mics, that means the show was a classic. This was a banger from start to end. I may have had like a flaw or two here or there, but eventually this is a must-watch pay-per-view. If I give a show 4 mics, that means the show was very good. It had a lot of great things, but it had one thing that really stood out that was bad, that keeps it from being 5. Go watch this when you have time, especially the match recommendation. If I give a show 3 mics, that means the show was solid. It has some good, it has some bad, it has some meh. But go watch it on your own time. It's something that I was like, if you can find time for it, go pull it up, especially the match recommendation. If I give a show 2 mics, that means this show didn't hit like it's supposed to. It needs some work. It needs to cook in the oven a little bit, to where there are 1 or 2 things that were good on the show, but the rest of it's kind of skippable. And if I give a pay-per-view 1 mic, that means this show was trash. Basura. Get this shit out of here. I struggled to find one positive thing on this show, and this was a chore to watch. I sat down and watched WWE Money in the Bank from London, England. We had the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. We had the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Gunther and Matt Riddle for the IC title. Seth Rollins, Finn Balor for your WWE World Heavyweight title. Ronda and Shayna versus Liv and Raquel for the women's tag team titles. You had Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio. You had the Bloodline Civil War main eventing. On a scale of 1 to 5, I give this show 5 mics. This was a classic. Even though I just gave a mighty detailed nitpick about the state of the women's division and the women's tag team titles, this was a very good show from start to end. This was very watchable. This was very enjoyable. There wasn't really any lulls on the show. Even John Cena coming out of nowhere to cut a promo, to put over London, to tease WrestleMania in London, to have Grayson Waller come out as well and get involved. Like, there's not a lot of bad things on this show, like, period. Like, honestly, anything is really nitpicky, and it comes down to your type of flavor and whatnot, what you like, what you don't like. Like, for me, I was hovering between a 4 and a 5, and it really came down to the women's tag team titles match, because Gunther and Riddle, it was what it was. Gunther beat that ass. Matt Riddle came out with questionable grades. McIntyre, welcome back. Drew McIntyre comes out at the end to make his presence felt, to let the people know that he is back, and he's going after Gunther in his IC title. Something we should look forward to at SummerSlam. Cody and Dominic, it was what it was. It was a solid match. It was an entertaining match. Dominic Mysterio is still the most hated man in WWE at the moment. Mommy is over like Rover and looking fantastic as usual. She was looking phenomenal. Salute to Rhea Ripley. And Cody finally got rid of the fucking brace on his arm. Because for a while, I was like, what the hell is this? Why are you walking around with a brace for so long? At some point, it's like, either you can't wrestle because your hand is that fucked up, or your hand is fine and you could take this shit off. And during the match, he ends up taking off the brace to realize, oh yeah, my hand's good to go. It's like, we fucking knew it. We knew it, you sneaky little devil, you. And he picks up the win against Dom Dom, because of course no one's gonna take Dom Dom seriously to get these wins without Judgment Day. But this show felt like between a 4 and a 5, like a 4.5 mic range. What pushes it over the edge for me is the fact that, as much as I'm being nitpicky with the women's tag team division, I do like Liv and Raquel getting those titles back, especially when they were never pinned or submitted for those. And it's something that Liv is an unbelievable babyface. Raquel's someone that, again, they're invested in, and they can refresh that division with the tag team titles while Ronda and Shayna get to have a blood feud. We saw it on Raw this week. I was live in attendance in Baltimore for this week's Raw, where Shayna cut the promo of her lifetime on Ronda Rousey, made her intentions clear on why she turned on her, why it was believable. And then she put the hands on Ronda Rousey, and it was just a fucking phenomenal segment that reminded us that Shayna Baszler is really that fucking good when you take her serious and you put her in the right position. And a Shayna and Ronda feud, this is something that they kind of want. Ronda's wanted to do for a while. And if you really believe the reports that's been floating on social media and the dirt sheets where Ronda might be on her way out, what's better than facing your best friend, one of your closest friends, and putting her over on the way out, which will help catapult Shayna in another light, because not many people have beaten Ronda Rousey straight up, especially clean. Even Sasha Banks, I love Mercedes. Even Sasha can't say she's beaten Ronda clean. I think it was a tag match. Maybe she might have, but at the same time, like straight up one-on-one, like again, a lot of people can't say they've beaten Ronda straight up. So for Shayna to do it will do tremendous work for her and help catapult her to where honestly she should be, because Shayna was one of the longest reigning NXT women's champions of all time. At her height, going after Becky Lynch when Becky Lynch was just nuclear over as the man. And then it never hit again when she took that L to Becky. It's like she dropped a bunch of notches and never regained that. So hopefully she can regain that moving forward. And again, because that was more nitpicky, I think that's what pushes this over to a 5, because the men's Money in the Bank ladder match was great. The women's Money in the Bank ladder match was great. Seth and Finn was really good. Gunther and Riddle was really good. The Bloodline Civil War was phenomenal. That, for me, 5 mics. Well done, WWE. With that being said, let's wrap this bad boy up. You can find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch at It's JustinRitch. You can find me Wednesday nights on Twitch from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Those Wrestling Girls channel for TWGFanClub with myself, Queen PR, Brian H. Waters, and Seindole B. All 4 of us will be pulling up to DC this weekend for BlurCon, along with Krista B. Those Wrestling Girls have been invited to be on the BlurCon panel, and Fan Club has been invited as special guests, so we will be in attendance for BlurCon. And we also got a show coming up this week where we'll be discussing hip hop culture and wrestling, which runs real deep when you think about that. And we're going to elaborate on that some more. You can also catch me from time to time, Tuesday nights, Twitter Spaces, around 6:35 p.m. from Turnbuckle Talk with Mimi and Corey, where we talk all things wrestling. Right now they're on a hiatus, but they'll be coming back soon, sometime this month. So keep on the lookout for that. You can also catch me from time to time on True Heel Heat Sports and True Heel Heat Wrestling. Both of those channels located on YouTube, where we talk sports, wrestling, and all the fun stuff. Your boy was on their Money in the Bank watch along, so we watched this pay-per-view as a watch party. We took this all in, and we watched all the drama unfold from this premium live event. We here, we outside, we active. Salute to everyone for Money in the Bank. Salute to London for being an excellent crowd. Salute to the Usos for getting the win against your tribal chief. And just salute to Damian Priest and Io Sky, who are now your current men's and women's Money in the Bank briefcase holders. And on that note, we out. Peace.